G'day. Occasionally when I'm working on something, I have an idea for a bit of tooling or something that I'd like to try and make or produce or just even try, just to see if I can do things in a more efficient or a better way. And today's video is about that. I made up this, and it's a combination device. What I was finding with the vise that I've got, that because of the way it bolts down, I couldn't just get a square right up against it and check that something was square in the vise, and so I've put a step in it for that. But I've also got a slot there for a tie down bolt, hold down bolt, because I figured too that there are times when I've got a long piece of stock and I want to stop on one end, and rather than use angle plates and bits and pieces and all that sort of stuff, this might be a better way of doing that. And so I don't know what to call it, whether you call it a stop square or a square stop or a yeah, it's just one of those things. Anyway, this is a lot of machining involved. This is about making up this thing. This is my working drawing, and I've drawn out my shape, and there it's 95 and there it's 125 and it's 60 wide. So I need to find a bit of material which is basically 60 by 100. Looking around in my materials pile, couldn't find one of those, but I did find a piece that was 75 by 75. And if I put a bounding box around here, and it's one nice thing about having a CAD, doing things on CAD, I only need something that's 68 high, so I can get by with my 75 by 75. I originally thought it was just a lump of steel from something, but it turns out it's actually cast iron. I've cut it there, and I've cut it there, and that gets me my 150, it's actually 160 cut, because I want to face up the ends here. So that's going to be my my blank. I probably won't, although the drawing says 60, I probably won't take this all the way down. I'll probably leave it at 70 or 65, something like that, somewhere in there. Just because I don't mind a bit wider. I was trying to limit the width because I'm not sure how much material I had, but now that I know what I've got, that's good. I've just taken a skim cut across this. I want to make this a datum face, and so I've tried to get it as flat as I can. I've cleaned up this face and I've taken this down to 70, and I've decided it's going to be my final size, as I've got the material there. So from here I'm going to take it off and mark it out and work out what I need to cut where. But it's a matter of setting up that datum face. I'll also mark this face so I know that this is the face that was square to the table. I've just been roughing out the bottom step. The top step I've taken down to height and taken to width there. I need to flip that over and do the end face here, but I'm going to leave that until I have everything else roughed out. sorry, pretty much finished cut, I think. I've allowed just a little bit here to come back and clean up. I'm about to measure that to work out how much deep I can go. I've got a gusset that goes through here on this side and this side, and I've also got a gusset here. So what I'm going to do, once I've cleared a lot of this material out, I think I'll kick this up on a 45-degree angle so I can come along and just do that gusset, do that shape there. Then I can come on with a longer cutter, I hope I've got one, and do the final clean up in there, plus this face across here. As I said I would, I've put the chamfers on there and there. I've had to clean that up with the file. I had a ding in there, so that's okay now. I've swapped to a longer cutter. This is actually a 6-flute cutter. This is the only one I've got, and it came in a box of second-hand cutters, I think. But the reason for that is I need the depth. I need to be here, and I need to have clearance there. And most of my cutters run out of just under 45 millimeters or something like that. This is 60, so longer series cutter. Whenever you're cutting, try and use the shortest cutter you can, simply because it deflects less and you get less chatter and all the other things. But having done that, I'm just going to be pocketing in there until I get. I'll probably stop, half a millimeter or so shy of that face until I'm ready for a final cut, and then I'll come in and I'll do in there, down across here and down there. Then it's basically this side is finished. There is a slot in there for a T-bolt. I'm not sure whether I'll put that in at the moment or whether I'll leave that till later. But I'll just see how this bit goes here and whether I've got clearance for a cutter. I may have to come in from the other side, in which case it's certainly a later job. I just want to show you this. Normally there's a bolt in here holding the vise down, but the way this part sits is that bolt gets in the way. And so I've taken that bolt out and I've put a couple of strap clamps here. And so, the thing here is that you don't necessarily always have to use the holes or the slots or whatever that are provided. Sometimes you can't. This is all set up here so I can take out that piece, or that piece, and that'll almost be finished. There's another gusset in there, so I'll have to work that one out. I didn't put that slot in there because I didn't think I could reach in there. So what I'm going to do, I think, is come back once I've taken this material out, flip this over, and then cut that slot on this side, and that'll do the job. It doesn't matter whether it's this from this side or from that side. It's just, it would have been easier to do it in that setup, but once again, sometimes things conspire against you. Here it is, almost finished. I ended up holding that like that and running a 9/16 cutter up there to give me a slot, and that means I can bolt that down to a T slot if I need to. I must admit to a bit of a clanger here. You might just be able to see that mark there. That's 0.2 of a millimetre deep. And what that is, the cutter has dug in. When you're feeding, the cutter deflects. Now, when you stop, it tends to just dig in a little bit more and go back to a natural position. And so what happens there is I'd stopped to change direction, and it had, you know, instead of being sort of like that, it had sort of come back to straight and dug in. So that's my fault. I might get some files onto that and just see if I can blend that out a little bit, but it's not really going to matter too much in terms of function. Last operation. I want to get this face to be as square as I can to this one. And so to start with, I'm going to machine that, but the question is, okay, how do you hold it? So two ways you could, or several ways you could do this. One is you could take a chance on clamping that into a vise, getting that, you know, nice and square, and then taking a cut there. That could work, but you've got it's fiddly stuff, and you've got to have a square in here that's just right. What I'm going to do instead, though, I've got an angle plate here, the solid one, and I've put a dial on it, and I've run it up and down until I get that so that it's not moving. Well, it's moving a little bit. That point there is 0.02 millimeters further that way than this one. It's about as square as I'm going to get it, I think. I've got a bit of shim in the back there to get there. Before that, it was a little bit. It was even worse. So what I'm now going to do is, and this is the reason I wanted to put that slot in there, I'm going to bolt this to that angle plate, and then I'm going to go across here, very, very light depth of cut, and probably even finish off with a fly cutter, just to machine that off. Okay, and that should mean that that surface and that surface are square to within 0.02 of a millimetre. How does this all work? Well, for a start, it's a square that gets over the bolts here. So I can have that sitting there, or there, however I want it, okay, and not have to worry about that. So if I've got something that I need to have squared up in the vice jaws, I can do that. It's wide enough that I can have it, you know, in either T slot, and it'll work. It's also, the centre of gravity is about there somewhere, so it will sit flat like that. But because it was machined, clamped down for maximum squareness, it works like that. I can also position it back here. So if I've got a bit of long stock, I can use this as a stop. So I can put the stock in there, use that as a stop, machine over here, take that one out, put the next one in, and that all works. So apart from a bit of cosmetic work, I'm pleased with this. This will work quite nicely for me. And you know, if I'd had that when I was machining these legs, I could have put that in there and then used that to square it up. So that's the sort of thing I was envisaging it doing. You know, being able to have something sitting in there, come up, it's square, yep, beautiful, I'm all right. Okay, so there it is, a square stop, or a stop square, or a oh, I don't know, something or other. Thanks for watching. See you for the next one.